So I think right now as a musician, I have, and so many others have an opportunity to really reach people with a message and really reach people with just a comfort and to let people know that like we are going to get you through these times. We're all going to get through these times together.
My lungs with desire. I'm certain he can.
It takes a lot of courage and to open yourself up, because you're ultimately allowing yourself to be really vulnerable, and I think that frightens a lot of people.
You've been waiting on a witness. I've been waiting on a sign. You've been patient, now I'm ready. Look out, world, I've come alive.
They are in it for the love of music. They are in it for the love of the artist, the songwriting, and what it does for other people. And that's the reason that I'm in it.
Found everlasting freedom. Now I'm telling everyone.
So I think right now as a musician, I have, and so many others have an opportunity to really reach people with a message and really reach people with just a comfort and to let people know that like we are going to get you through these times. We're all going to get through these times together.
My destiny will, without fail, forever follow. Can't help but raise my hands. You've been waiting on a witness.
I'm going to ask you some questions.
Sure.
If I could crack my knuckles, I would do that right now. All right.
I hate that, so I'm glad that you aren't. That's so good.
So, first of all, thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Where were you born, Ben? And where did you grow up?
I was born in Claremont, New Hampshire. Valley Regional Hospital, I think is the name of it. And I believe it's still there. I really don't even know. But I grew up in a small town. My parents are from Sunapee, New Hampshire, originally, and they met there. And then they moved to a small town called Wethersfield, Vermont, and that's where I was pretty much born and raised there.
Okay.
Yep.
How old were you, or when is your earliest memory of getting into music?
I would guess, when I was younger, probably between, I don't know, I guess the ages of probably 7 and 12, 7 and 10, somewhere in between there. I remember doing a lot of singing while I was working. Dad started me at a pretty early age. I mean, there are pictures of me driving tractors on his lap at 5 years old. And then, I remember getting pulled over by the local sheriff in a big triaxle dump truck when I was 15 years old, before I even had I didn't even have a permit at that point. So yeah, I grew up fast. I grew up really fast. But I remember I used to pass the time singing while I was, I was in a tractor, or I was in a truck, or I was milking cows or something. I was always singing, and the music sort of took me to another place, and I didn't have to worry about the work. But my great uncle Bruce was the dean at Juilliard, and so he really passed down a lot of musical abilities to my grandmother, and then and that whole family was just all of that. I don't know whether, and I should honestly look into the super family history and what was beyond them, but my grandmother and my great uncle were just so inclined. They fed off each other. They shared a lot of musical ability with each other, and then my sister, really got the piano of the family. She's amazing, and she's also terrified to play it. So she doesn't play it in front of anybody, or really like let it be known, but she is really good. So I should take lessons from her, I guess, in my spare time. Piano is so beautiful, and it really takes you to another place. And even for me, it's so magical when I hear it. And I think the benefit of learning another instrument would be just more inspiration, more musical inspiration, more writing inspiration for me, because you start hearing different things. And I just was playing around on electric guitar this morning, and just a little bit, and it just was inspiring me for other other types of music, and sort of getting in touch with my soulful side, finding a little bit bluesy, making a little bit of a bluesy riff, and it's cool. I enjoy playing around on. I think piano would maybe inspire more, for me.
What about this series at A Sound Space is important to you?
Wow. I think the coolest part about A Sound Space is just the feeling of just being home. The biggest thing is when you go in to do something like that, it was just all laid out, was so stress-free that I'm just kind of like, oh, this is going to be great. There's a stool, there's a microphone, and I just sit on it and I just play my music, and that's it. And it was like the easiest thing ever. Instead of being like, oh, do you want this? Or, oh, do you need this? Or, oh, should you get this? Or, oh, we're not ready yet, or whatever. It was just like, come on in, sit down, play your songs, and let us know when you're ready to start. I was like, okay. So yeah, it was like family. To work as because this thing takes an army, and everybody knows it does. You can't, if you're in this to get famous, you shouldn't be in this, honestly. And that's exactly, the feeling that I got from them was just that they are in it for the love of music. They are in it for the love of the artist, the songwriting, and what it does for other people. And that's the reason that I'm in it. And so I think that's why it clicked so well, is that I could go in there and just be myself, and I could tell that they were themselves. So yeah, that was, if I ever get a chance to go back, I'd love to go back for sure. And if there's other musicians that I can talk to and recommend going there to see George, for sure, that that's one of the things that I would certainly do.
So I guess that brings me to my next question. What is it like for you to be a musician in these strange times that we currently are all experiencing?
Wow. Are we in strange times right now?
Well, we don't have to get too, it could be light. We don't have to get too much, but it's kind of one of those things where we can't tap dance around the elephant in the room the whole time. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
it's been being a musician during this time. I think we have a very, very unique opportunity to reach people, and more and more and more and more people are just getting more and more and more bored, and looking for projects and doing projects and stuff. But also, while they do those projects, I know in many homes that I've been in, music is always going. Music is on the TV. Music is on Pandora or Spotify or Alexa or whatever. And so I think right now, as a musician, I have and so many others have an opportunity to really reach people with a message, and really reach people with just a comfort, and to let people know that, like, we are going to get you through these times. We're all going to get through these times together. And if your favorite song, or maybe a new song that we could write, or something to touch a certain place in somebody's heart, that's where I'm at, and I've set out to do that with my music, is just to tell the truth and be honest with everybody, and sometimes the truth hurts, So
I'm glad that you said that that's what you set out to do, because my next question is actually, do you have any goals that you've set for yourself in the future musically as a singer-songwriter?
I believe it or not, I'm also a firm believer in, heard you talk about journaling earlier. I wrote down, I met with the head PR for Soulfest in Nashville. And Soulfest is one of the largest Christian music festivals in the United States, and it's held in Guilford, New Hampshire. And I had met with her in Nashville, and we were going over stuff, and she really liked me, and I don't know, she had been referred me by somebody else, and so anyway, a really long shot, but here I am in front of the head PR for the largest, Christian music festival in the United States. And since I've kind of shifted my music towards Christian sound, actually not a Christian sound, but just Christian belief and writing style, with a whole nother different type of sound, I was blown away. I'm like, here I am. Well, later that afternoon, I had written down that I was going to play Soulfest, and I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I promised that I would, and I couldn't believe. So that was February 17th, and after that, it was about 2.5-3 weeks later, I got a message from Michelle, and she said, I've passed your information along to Dan Russell, who runs Soulfest, who started Soulfest 23 years ago. And I'm really hoping that he keeps a spot open for you. And a few days later, I got a phone call from Dan Russell, and he said, I keep hearing your name. We've got one spot left on the stage this year. If you can come up with a big chunk of money, we will send you tickets so that you can recoup that money, but we will let you play Soulfest. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And my new manager, who's just phenomenal, Crystal Polychronis, her name is, and she just believes in me so much. And we met, she's from New Hampshire, and it was a really super God thing as to how we met. And next thing you know, she knew I didn't have any money. We had to come up with $3,000. And she used one of her own credit cards and put down half of it, and somehow convinced Dan that we could basically pay the second half next month. And once we got these tickets and we could start to sell the tickets and stuff like that, and he said, I believe in you guys, okay. And it was like taking a chance, taking a risk, really jumping off the deep end. And I, like, all of a sudden, she calls me and she said, hey, we're playing Soulfest. You're playing Soulfest. I was like, what? You got to be kidding. You know what? We don't have the money. And she goes, I talked him into it. We're doing it. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So writing it down, I'm a firm believer in writing it down. So one of my goals was to just sing to more people this year, and to reach more people and to help more people. And my prayers were answered on that big time.
Congratulations. That's a great story.
Yeah, thank you. But I think as a musician, I know that I just did a Zoom chat with a bunch of members of Soulfest, and some people that are involved with it, and some people that are financially involved with it, and just friends that joined in on this call. And I sang a few songs of mine that are on my album, Witness. And a lot of them commented at the end, and they just said that they were so sick of hearing the same old K-Love radio Christian music that's like, oh, Jesus, my Jesus, and they throw the word Jesus in very nonchalantly just so that it can be on that radio station. And in reality, people really need music that is not like, oh no, not everything is fine, actually. You know, not everything is just dandy and we can just look to Jesus for love and hope and all this. But the truth of it is that there are suicidal thoughts in a lot of us. There is probably a lot of people really thinking about that right now in the world because of what's going on, because they're financially strapped, because they're you know, they don't know how they're going to make ends meet, or their relationship just fell apart before this and now they're really alone and they're drinking a lot and they're using drugs and stuff. And I really think about, you know, their responses were like, what we love about your music is that it's real, it tells a story, and it tells the truth. And, you know, the first song on my album is called Other Plans, and it's about a time when I went out into the woods with a rifle and, you know, I had the barrel in my mouth and I was going to pull the trigger. And I was 16 years old, and I will never forget it. And I sung about it. You know, it took me 16 years to write the song, to just of life to just live out before I could write the song. But yeah, it's very vivid and has a lot of really graphic just images and stuff when you sing it, and I've got standing ovations for it. I've had veterans come up to me, just people relating of all ages, that wow, I felt the same way. I've done that before too, and I'm still here, and I'm here to talk about it, and to hear them talk about my music like that right now, I think more than ever, that's the kind of music that people needs. And that's why I said, you know, even if it hurts, because most of the truth does hurt, because most of us don't want to recognize it. The right thing to do might not be the best thing.
Well, and I think we need to feel connected, and you're making people feel like they're not alone in having those dark thoughts or those dark feelings. They feel connected, like okay, I'm not crazy for feeling that way, you know, or it removes like a stigma that's been placed, you know, on people talking about those feelings. You know, it's creating connections.
Yeah, and right now is when this is a time we are in a time of need, and right now is the time for sure that we can do something about it as musicians. And so this online thing is crazy and it is silly, and there are a lot of, you know, Instagram Live is flooded and Facebook Live is flooded and everybody's doing this stuff, and it's really good, but a lot of people are really tuning into it. I'm having a hard time because I'm such a people person and such a just in-person person, and so to do this online, it's not gratifying enough for me. But I also realize that it's also not gratifying for other people, including the people that are watching online when they'd rather be watching in person. So I've tried to take some of that selfishness and throw it out the window and just say, look, this is what we've got for now, and this is what we've got to do. So it's adapting for sure. Yeah, it is.
This is my last question. Who are some influential singer-songwriters that have inspired you?
Wow. You know, it's really funny that I was told I got to meet Tyler Hubbard and Brian Kelly of Florida Georgia Line, and I met them from the country duo. I met them probably 4 years ago or so, maybe 5 now, and got to talk and ask a couple questions. But one of the questions that I asked was, what advice would you give to an aspiring musician? And, you know, they told me, if you're listening to the radio, you're already behind. And as far as writing goes, and I didn't understand that until I moved to Nashville. And I also didn't understand that until I really started digging into music more. And I think what they were trying to tell me is that, you know, those melodies and those lyrics and that stuff has already been made, and has been made probably months prior to it being on the radio. So, you know, sitting around listening to the radio and listening to artists and stuff like that, I really try not to do now. But David Nail has always been a big influence of mine. He's from a little town called Kennett, Missouri. He's just, his voice is amazing. He's got this really contemporary sort of southern country, but just really smooth and powerful voice. And so I've always tried to like take a lot from him. His writing was always really, really good. And he wasn't necessarily super popular. For a while, he had some hits on the radio and stuff on country radio, but yeah, I would say David Nail. Vince Gill is another big one. Sort of grew up on that. Steve Wariner, grew up on his music too, as far as the country side of things. And now, you know, I'm listening to Cody Carnes, who a Christian. He's married to Carrie Job, and they're powerhouse Christian artists that are very popular right now on Christian radio. And so I've been listening to them and Elevation Worship and kind of mixing this country in with the Christian, and just giving it this Chris Stapleton almost sort of Sturgill Simpson kind of writing. But yeah, it's sort of, I'm a big melting pot, I feel like. But I've got this soul that I'm thankful for, that I can get out, and people seem to enjoy the gravel sound that I've got. And so I think mixing a few of those artists together, I've kind of come up with who Ben Fuller is, if that makes any sense.
I just want to say I really thank you again, and for sharing a lot of your story, and thank you for making connections with people. And I don't know, I really wish you, really from my full heart, I wish you all the luck and love, because you seem very driven, and that's awesome. It's inspiring too, as somebody who's new at playing music. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for a wonderful interview, and I that's just it. You know, people ask me what advice would you give? You know, a lot of just younger musicians or people, you know, in so many different people reach out to me and they just say, hey, what advice would you have to give for this? And my advice is just jump, because we're not promised tomorrow. You have no idea what's next, and until you jump, you know, you don't know. And so yeah, just jump, go get some lessons, and continue to draw pictures of you playing the bass, and draw pictures of you with your fingers on the piano keys. I mean, do it, because it works, and it will. So
found a flame in the darkness, set my soul on fire. It's burning me so I breathe it in, fill my lungs with desire. I'm certain he can heal me when I'm hurting, be my feet when I get tired. I'm stronger now, I'm waking up from all this sleeping. Now I left behind my doubt. You've been waiting on a witness, I've been waiting on a sign. You've been patient, now I'm ready. Look out, world, I've come alive.